Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. And we're back with another episode of Tea with Sue. Earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast and the topic of meaning and especially in the face of adversity popped up. And it caused me to re-examine the whole concept of purpose and meaning and values in life. So I thought it would be a good topic for today. So I've titled this, Finding Meaning in Every Moment. Now, there are lots of books out there that talk about finding your purpose and finding meaning in life and so on. And often, and I know when I read some of them, it was portrayed as this lofty kind of undefinable concept. But when you grabbed a hold of it, when you found your purpose, then it would just propel you forward and life would be grand. So it was a very lofty kind of perspective. So I recall going in search of that for many, many years. And it somehow seemed to be just slightly out of reach. And I never quite understood that, but I strived mightily. I did things that contributed to others. I had work that was meaningful to me, and I enjoyed it, and I felt I was doing some good in the world. And it seemed as if maybe I was catching a glimmer of it here and there. But there were times when I'd look at what somebody else was accomplishing or achieving in their lives, and whether they were building wells in Africa or feeding the homeless in a small community or whatever, that I thought, well, they're more purpose driven than I am. I haven't reached that pinnacle or whatever it was. Well, but nonetheless, I was reasonably content in the striving and the reaching for that and feeling as if, yeah, I think I've kind of found my purpose here. Well, when I had a near-death experience in 2007, the lid blew off of what I thought meaning and purpose were all about, and found myself at the end of that wandering in the wilderness for a few years, because what had meant so much to me before didn't seem to have the same meaning anymore. The value that I had placed on some of the work that I was doing had just evaporated, and I'm going, oh no, now what? And I was adrift. It was as if I had this lovely anchor, that a foundation or an underpinning that I could work from, and then it just disappeared. And all of a sudden, it's just there's no stability anymore. And it caused me great concern. Like, it scared me. And I'm going, whoa, how can I live my life if there's no meaning, if I don't have a purpose? And so I searched again. I dove back into books and looking for the answer. Like, where's the answer? Because I like the answer. I want the answer, and I want it now. I know you're not like that, but I am. And so I struggled. And there was one book that I found. I'd been rereading the Neale Donald Walsch Conversations with God series, and I was in the Communion with God book, and it's one page stopped me right in my tracks when the first sentence was, "There is no meaning to life." And I'm going, yeah, well, that's what I'm experiencing. And I'm going, oh no, that wasn't the answer I wanted. And then in the next part, it said, accept the meaning you give it. I'm like, what? And then the next sentence was, there is no purpose to life except the purpose that you give it. And I'm going, oh, well, tiny light bulbs started to go on. And I'm going, really? Whoa. So the fact that I'm feeling that there's no meaning in my life and I have no purpose right now, the only way to change that, the only way to reverse that is then to give some meaning to my life, to find a new purpose. Is that what it's all about? And I'm going, well, I worked on that before. And so I guess I could dive in again, but I found myself diving in an entirely different way, because all of a sudden I realized that I had been missing a whole lot of meaning in my life because I was looking for something bigger, because and my purpose in doing things seemed to be focused only in one direction, when we could have multiple purposes and much meaning and a much broader spectrum of that in our lives that could add such incredible enrichment if we just paid attention to it. So one of the things that helped for me was to take apart and look differently at meaning and at values and at purpose, to say, all right, let's see if I can paint this picture a little differently. So when I think of meaning now, I think of, well, what does that mean to me? If I'm doing something, does it mean a lot to me? And so I want to continue to do it? Or does it not mean anything to me? And so why would I waste my time? So, and we get to choose, right? So for example, and now let me add into that, looking at value at the same time. So I'm not exactly talking about the values that we hold of, honesty and kindness and generosity and all those kinds of things, although that plays a role, that does come into it. But if we look at value as from the perspective of what is it I most value? So, for example, I know that I value having food on the table. Well, most of the time, in order to put food on the table, I need cash in the bank to pay for it. Well, how do I get cash in the bank? Well, most of us go out, get a job, and in return for our labor, they give us money, which we put in the bank, which we then take out and buy groceries with. So I'm going, okay, well, I value my satisfaction in my stomach from being fed enough that I will do what's necessary to make sure that my fridge stays full. So it's a very simple thing. And now there's other layers of value that you can get from that. So here's the thing. We tend to think, especially if we're in a job where it feels as if we're not appreciated, maybe it's a quotes dead end job going nowhere, or there's just not a lot of joy in going to work every day, except for the paycheck that it provides. Well, so we think, well, I have to work. I can't just please myself. I have to work because of this, and this, and this. What if you changed your perspective on that and said, well, I'm choosing to go to work and I'm choosing to stay in this job right now because it does provide this, and this, and these are the things that I value. And maybe I value the fact that I am making a contribution every day, that what I'm doing, while it may not have great meaning for me, I may not feel totally filled up by the work that I'm doing, but it's contributing in some way. And so if I value my contribution, so for example, I have a dear friend who drives school bus. It's not a very good paying job, and sometimes the work conditions, especially in the dead of winter, when the roads are nasty and it's cold out, it's not a very pleasant experience. Why does she get up every day and do it? For the kids. And she gets such joy from the children's faces and how she's able to interact with them, and the appreciation she gets from parents and from the school because she's doing a good job. Then that has meaning for her. That gives her a layer of meaning beyond the fact that, well, it doesn't pay so good. So I don't know why it doesn't pay so good. Good heavens, our precious children are going on these buses, and why are we not paying well for that service? Because it's anyway, that's a whole other story, but you know what I mean. So I think it's interesting that so much of our lives, and I'll speak for myself, a lot of my life I kind of resented having to do things that didn't bring me the ultimate satisfaction, or didn't feel like it was part of my purpose, or didn't seem to have as much meaning for me as I wanted. And as a result, I missed the satisfaction I could have had in that moment. I missed the satisfaction or the joy of just actually doing something. And so it took away from my life as a whole, because I was waiting for, well, I want the big reward, I want the big purpose, I want the big meaning, I want the big value, when in fact what I've discovered is that it's in the accumulation of all the little things. So when was the last time you took a piece of fruit off out of the fruit bowl and sat it down on your table and just appreciated and valued what you were about to consume? The colors of it, the texture of it, and then when you bit into the piece of fruit, the burst of flavors that just right on your tongue and right down your throat, and the satisfaction in the belly. Well, I think there's a lot of value in that. And sometimes we're busy, so we discount that and think, well, that doesn't really count. I have to put food in my belly to be able to have the energy to carry on. Well, but it's in the honoring, it's in valuing, first of all, that you have the piece of fruit, because there's lots on the planet I have nothing to eat at this moment in time. You value, okay, my car's kind of old, but it gets me from point A to point B no matter what. And the fact that I have a few dollars that I can put gas in the tank, and you need quite a few more dollars these days. But it's that, what is it that you value that helps you find the meaning in your life? And some of those things turn up to be tangible things in the case of a career that you love and enjoy and are passionate about. But there's also lots of intangible things, and I think in some ways there's more intangible than tangible. So sometimes we don't place a great value on that because we're so focused in our society on productive work and making sure that our time is well spent. And I know I grew up with that, that Protestant work ethic, and you look around in North America particularly, and the fact that Europe tends to give 4 to 6 weeks vacation, and here in North America you have to work a lot of years before they even give you 3 weeks. So what do they value? They value your nose to the grindstone and your shoulder to the wheel. And while that serves some purpose, is it all that you're after in life? Is there more to it than that? And I'm here to say there's lots more. There's lots more. A lot of the intangible things are the things that we value the most. So for example, more and more these days, and I think especially because of the pandemic, I'm noticing that people are really valuing human connection. They're valuing interaction, especially face to face, because for so long we were distancing ourselves and isolating ourselves. That is not good for us as humans. As humans, we need to be able to have eyeball to eyeball, face to face connection. That, you know, the value of a smile, the meaning that you get from having an intimate conversation with someone who could be a total stranger, and then you have this, but you have this deep connection. Well, that's all part of what makes life worthwhile. Is, wow, I got great value from that. That meant a lot to me. That somebody just gives you a spontaneous hug and you haven't had a hug for days. Whew, there's just such a, or just lightly touches you on the shoulder and said, wow, you're doing a good job, or I really care about you. Or so the other day, my dear daughter-in-law pops up with a little video clip that she sent me by phone. One of my granddaughters wanted to say goodnight, and but then of course when the camera's on, she's a little shy, and so mama's got to kind of coach her through this and say what she wanted to say. And then as it's getting to the end of the video, my granddaughter says, "Good night, Nana. I love you." Well, my heart just swelled like 10 sizes bigger, because it was so sweet. And this was this spontaneous thing that she thought of all by herself and told her mother she wanted to do. Well, that meant the world to me. Well, talk about meaning in my life. Well, it means a lot to me that I have people in my life that I care about and who care about me. And lots of them I may not know that well. One of the reasons that I do Tea with Sue is because I think there are people out there that at some point in their lives are going to stumble across Tea with Sue on YouTube or some other vehicle, and what I have to say will touch them in some way. So why do I keep doing this? Because it means a lot to me to be able to contribute in this way. There's nobody paying me to do this, but I love to do it because it fills my cup, my teacup, right? My special Earl Grey teacup. And it fills my soul, because after cancer, when I was searching for a new reason for being, a new purpose, a new and more meaning in my life, and re-examined all of what I valued and all facets of my life, I came to the conclusion that where I had started, where I had started in my work career, in wanting to make a difference, in wanting to uplift people and inspire and motivate and just support and soothe and whatever those roles look like, depending on who I was dealing with, that still was a thread running through my life. And because I had come so close to checking out of the planet, you know, a few times, then it means even more to be here right now, to be able to contribute in this way. It doesn't have to be a big thing. So for example, the janitor who values a clean floor and values order and values keeping things spick and span for other workers coming into the building is contributing value to the organization. And let's face it, in our hospitals, that's a tremendous amount of value, because we want our hospitals essentially to be germ-free. And some people think, oh, well, the janitor's just a janitor and low person on the spectrum. And in fact, nothing could be farther from the truth. Everyone makes the contribution that they make for the good of all of us. And so there's real meaning in that. And I remember reading a story, for example, of this shopkeeper in India who had a street, I think it was in Bombay, and his shop was on a street that had nasty potholes, and people driving by would hit those potholes, and there were many accidents happening because of these potholes. Well, nobody else was doing anything about it. And so he thought, well, at least I could fill the potholes in front of my shop, and maybe I can prevent an accident. So he started doing that. And I think he found some asphalt or whatever he had to find to fill that pothole. And of course, eventually the pothole would reappear, but he just kept filling it. And the other shopkeepers in the neighborhood noticed that he was doing this, and they noticed that he wasn't having accidents in front of his shop. Well, it was a simple thing, and yet it made a huge difference to the well-being of everybody driving by. And other people in the area, other business people, started doing the same thing. And pretty soon that street was darn safe compared to what it had been before. So it's that it meant something to him. So he had a purpose to look, I want to keep people safe here. And maybe not too many even knew that he was doing that, but it meant something to him, and he fulfilled that purpose. So whatever it is that you do in your life that can bring you joy, that can add value, that can add meaning to you and to those that you connect with, that's what it's all about. And it can be on a moment to moment to moment basis. It doesn't have to be this big, lofty, I got my name in the paper because I did this amazing thing. Let's face it, most of our heroes are unsung heroes. We don't know their names, but they've made a difference in their contribution just by being who they were, and just by contributing in a way that meant something to them. So this next week, I really want to challenge you to think about what's meaningful in your life, what value you place on certain aspects or on all aspects of your life as you go through your day moment by moment, and the purpose or the reason behind which you do all of that. And then if there are things that are not fulfilling your purpose or giving you meaning or providing value, you maybe want to stop doing those and then do the things that do give you that. And it might take some searching to say, well, what is it that provides me the value that I cherish in my life? And that's okay. Life is very much that way, where we're questing and our purpose can change over time. Our values can change over time. What we value changes differently depending on the ages and stages that we go through. I'm in such a different stage of my life right now than I was in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. So then it causes me to revisit, well, now what? Now what do I value? Now where am I? Now what meaning do I want to have in my life, and so on. So it's a continual growth process, I think, and worth revisiting. You know you can do this because you're that magnificent. And I want for you, what I hope you want for you is to tap into that magnificence, to embrace it, so that you can create the kind of life that you so desire and you so cherish. So take that on for this week, and we'll look forward to seeing what crops up for next week. Feel free to leave a comment let me know how you're doing with this topic. If you're enjoying Tea with Sue, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel, and then it'll pop up every week when it's aired. And of course, share with others that you feel might find it worthwhile. You can always get more Tea with Sue on my free app, The Magnificence Mentor. I encourage you to download the app and sign up as a member. Then all the content on the app is available to you. It's all free, and more to enjoy, more to learn, more to grow. That's what I want for you. Take great care, my magnificent friends, and we'll see you next week.